I was gonna make a longer video talking about like my top 5 teams in the NFL right now through 3 weeks, but I'd rather do something a little different. Not different, this is typically what I always do. I'd rather shoot for, 5 to 7 minutes, unscripted, just speaking my thoughts, speaking my mind after another week of football has ended, another Eagles game in the books, another dub in the books. It hasn't been the prettiest month of football. I think we can all agree on that. However, I, for one, have loved every single moment of it. I didn't want the Eagles to come out of the gates blowing teams out left and right, looking like they're the second coming of, like, I don't know, the 18-1 Patriots, Because that's what happened last year. We were so good for so long, and then when we got to the final game, one mistake, defense implodes, couldn't get the ball back, lost by 3 points. Wasn't able to do what we intended to do. Yet we looked so dominant the entire season. Now this year we have all the pressure on us because it's not as easy of a schedule, or Hurts was a one-hit wonder. He isn't that good. You lost your offense and defensive coordinators. You can't possibly be as good as you were last year, right? I'm with everybody when it comes to the offensive struggling with the play calling and the decision makings and whatnot, but I'd rather us iron out the kinks than stall out later on in the season. And that's where I look at the other teams that I was going to talk about in that top 5 NFL teams through 3 weeks video. The 49ers look great. However, how long will that last? We saw the Dallas Cowboys already implode. Injuries aside, all of that nonsense. They give us the no excuse policy. You get the no excuse policy. I don't care if you didn't have Zach Martin or Tyron Smith or Tyler Smith or whoever Smith it is. I don't care. You lost to the Cardinals. You lost by double digits, by 2 touchdowns. Deal with it. No excuses. Dak Prescott threw an interception in the end zone when you had a shot at coming back. Deal with it. We didn't have that issue. The 49ers didn't have that issue. Other teams that won their games that they were supposed to, didn't have that issue. But back on the 49ers, I'm curious to see how they do against not just us, but the Cowboys in a couple of weeks. Against the other teams that they play, I don't know what their schedule is. I'm not a Niners fan, but if they play like the Bills or the Chiefs or the Dolphins or whoever else, any of those really good teams right now, and the Dolphins are next. I want to see how they react in a few weeks. I want to see how Brock Purdy does the more the season goes on, because not every game's the same. Not every game you can put up 30 easily. It's not going to happen. So we'll see how things go with them. I'm not saying that anything's going to happen. I'm not saying how I feel like anything bad about them. I'm just curious to see how it goes, because every single team is going to have 1 or 2 games where they look like crap. That's just the truth. Whether they win or lose it, we'll see. The Eagles had that game a couple of weeks ago. We won that game against the Patriots. But the Dolphins, this is where things get interesting for me personally, because the Miami Dolphins put up 70 against the Denver Broncos. They're playing the Buffalo Bills this week. How much do you want to bet that they're going to drop a goose egg? How much do you want to bet? What's the over-under? Either the Bills get blown out or the Dolphins get shut out. What's going to happen here? Because I, for one, struggle to think that certain teams can be so good all the time and then expect to win a championship. We've seen teams go 18-0, do that whole thing, and then lose the final game. We have not had any team look as perfect as some say they are. So, Dolphins, you guys aren't perfect. The defense on your side is good, but you're not shut out the other team good. Right now, I can only think of 3 defenses that look that good, and they're all in the NFC. The Cowboys, and they didn't look too great last Sunday. The Eagles, who are starting to really show how good that front four is, and the Niners all around, really, really good. So, let's see what happens. I'm just curious because I know I'm an Eagles fan, and I might be biased because I see everything that happens with us. I don't see what happens with every other community in the NFL. But I feel like so many people are so overly critical over Jalen Hurts, over our defense, over our play calling, this, that, and the other. But then other teams don't get the same credit, unless if they lose in an embarrassing way like the Cowboys do. I don't know. It's interesting. But I guess that's the whole thing of sports. Everyone has a perspective. Everyone has their own bias. It does not matter how unbiased you may seem as a journalist, as a video maker, as a broadcaster, as a sports analyst, whatever you call yourself, you know? I try my best to be unbiased when I talk about other teams when they play us, before and after. I try to be as respectable as possible, but sometimes that just doesn't happen. Sometimes you don't get that from everybody else. I try my best to do that, and I'm going to continue to do that, but I don't know. I'm just waiting to see those other teams implode and have those question marks be brought up to the surface, because everyone's got them. We'll see how things go.